if you get 10 people to write E.T., it's going to come out 10 different ways. And it's just about matching up one person's point of view with the producer or the director or the company that wants to make the film. So, you know, they're sussing you out, seeing how you see the world, seeing how you see certain ideas, and wanting to get to know who you are. My number one rule, you know, the one thing that I tell my agents is gather as much information as they can on the executive so I know who I'm going to talk to. I actually let an agent go because they sent me in on a meeting without any information about the executive. Because when I know about the executive, it helps me to figure out what my approach is, you know? Because if someone tells me that an executive's like, you know, soft-spoken, you know, very analytical, I'm going to tailor my pitch to be that way. You know, if they tell me that the person's brash and bold, and I'll do the same. So my number one rule about going in on a pitch is, you know your executive, which is, you know, it's like a war manual. Know your enemy. You know. Another thing that I'm very explicit in doing is I try to find real life situations. Like I'll Google, do research on something that's close to the story that I'm doing. So I can say, you know, it's kind of like this when this happened, you know. And what that does is it gives it a real world, you know, application when you're pitching a story, you know. And it helps you as the writer, it makes you informed. It makes the executive think, oh, this person's like really, really doing their homework, doing their research, you know. I've known and heard of writers who've gone into pitch meetings, and when they're asked, like questions about, do you think this could happen in the real world or something like that, you know, and they go, I don't know, it's just, you know, and if you can give them a solid answer, you know, it raises their estimation of you. It's always about what you can do for them, you know. But it depends on the meeting, you know, because if it's a general meeting, they're just wanting to meet you as a writer so they can keep you on their radar, you know, or if they have a project that they think that you'd be good for, they can, you know, put your name on a list. If it's, you know, a particular story arena, you know, they're like, hey, we're looking for basketball ideas. Then it's about you coming in and pitching an idea that you created, an idea that you know, originated. If you're coming in for, you know, they want you to pitch a particular take on a log line, then that's not about you coming in with your ideas, your original ideas. It's about you tailoring something to the idea that they've given you. For instance, you know, Disney may call your agency and say, you know, we want to do the Three Musketeers on a naval ship, you know. Then you're coming in to specifically pitch about that. You're not coming in to like say, hey, I got this idea about, you know, X. So it depends on, you know, how they, you know, what the clarion call is that they make about what they want you to come in for. Somebody called it eye hustling about a week ago. And I'd never given it a name, so I guess that's appropriate. But, you know, one thing that I always do when I walk into an executive's room is I check the lay of the land. You know, what posters are on the wall, what tchotchkes are on their desk, you know, what magazines are on their table, what books are on their bookshelves. Because, you know, there may be a book there that I've read, there, you know, may be a magazine article that I've read, or, you know, there may be something that gives us something to converse about and begin a familiarity. Paid writer. And, you know, and once you have that bond, it changes the complexity of the conversation. It changes the dynamic of that conversation, because if there's something that you two can you know, converse on or agree on, you know, you get to exchange your point of view with that person in a way that's conversational, as opposed to you constantly being, you know, feeling like you're in the hot seat. You know, for example, when I went up for an assistance job, you know, I'm a big Billy Wilder fan, and the guy I interviewed with had a book on Billy Wilder that I had, you know, read more than a few times. And it turns out he was a big Billy Wilder fan and had read the book, as opposed to, you know, just having the book on his shelf. And we literally, you know, spent like the first 5 minutes of our interview talking about the book, talking about the things we had learned from the book. And by the time that folded into the actual interview for the job, you know, we were both at ease, you know. And so if you have the time when you walk in, and you do, because they'll ask you where you're from, or, you know, what you wrote last, and, you know, and while you're answering those questions, you can, you know, peruse the room. And you know, and if you go in with that intent, you know, you probably can find something that you can bring up, or, you know, comment about, and then that person will tell you about themselves. So you're learning about them as you know, they're learning about you.